The Integrated Bar of the Philippines is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Since the formation of local chapters and election of chapter officers on February 17, 1973, the IBP has been the guardian of the rule of law and an indispensable partner of the Supreme Court in the administration of justice, which was made possible through the leadership and guidance of our past presidents. In 1987, the IBP lot and building was about to be foreclosed due to non-payment of amortizations due to GSIS. Through the efforts of then-President Presbitero J. Velasco Jr., the foreclosure was averted, thus ensuring a permanent home and building for the IBP at the heart of the Ortigas Business District.
During my short stint as acting national president of the IBP, we were able to save the IBP lot and building from imminent foreclosure. What we did was to liquidate the 19 million arrearages of the organization with GSIS. And I credit then General Manager Sunny Belmonte for condoning the loan of the IBP and also the penalties and surcharges. We were assured of a permanent home for the organization.
During the time of President Raul R. Angangco, the mandatory continuing legal education, which seeks to elevate the standards of the profession by educating lawyers on updates on laws and jurisprudence, was proposed.
During my term, that's where we brought up the matter of the proposed mandatory continuing legal education nationwide, throughout the chapters, throughout the regions of the IBP. I made sure that in all the activities, the subject would be taken up as a proposition, and to see how the constituents, the IBP, the lawyers, would react to such a proposition. The mandatory continuing legal education program is intended to continue the legal education of all lawyers, so that they will be kept abreast of all legal developments in the country. This would be nationwide, from the north down to the south, so that all lawyers would be benefited. So in all the activities of the IBP, it was taken up and discussed, and ultimately, the proposition was approved favorably in the National Convention of Lawyers during my term.
During the presidency of Jose Aguila Grapilon, there was no radical shift from the avowed purposes and objectives for which the IBP was established.
Still in all, our term made it clear that the usual reactionary posture of the association should change to an ardent embrace of an activist entity by way of initiating useful dialogues with government agencies tasked with responsibilities in the delivery of justice, a consequence of which was resolute and determined participation in almost all aspects where the law could be harnessed to be looked at as a contributor, which did not mean being a savior, to easing the unjust and unmerciful ills brought about by the banality of evil. So the IBP organized and participated in protest actions and demonstrations in various denunciations of government, excesses and inactions in the political field, avoiding the label of partisanship.
The mandatory continuing legal education was commenced and implemented during the time of President Teofilo S. Pilando.
And being a transformational initiative at that time, it had its sets of challenges and opposition. But continued dialogue with stakeholders, review of systems and procedures, and support from the Supreme Court enabled the IBP to hurdle the birth pains and enhance the administration of the MCLE. IBP access to justice initiatives had to be expanded to meet the demands from a growing public served and widening issues referred to the IBP. Partnership and coordination with like-minded institutions were then sought that added to our limited resources and extended our capacity to extend legal assistance and advance legal advocacy. These included initiatives and collaboration with the Supreme Court, Senate, the UNICEF and UNDP, educational establishments, and private foundations.
When Jose Anselmo I. Cadiz was president in 2003 up to 2006, the IBP successfully challenged before the Supreme Court the proclamation of a state of emergency by then Philippine President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo and the People's Initiative efforts to amend the 1987 Constitution.
Effectively, we felt it was like martial law. So we marched in the streets and we challenged the proclamation of the President in the Supreme Court. And fortunately, the Supreme Court justices saw it our way and nullified the proclamation. There was also one notable matter. Congress launched a People's Initiative to amend the Constitution. We also challenged that in the Supreme Court, and fortunately, we won. We were very busy because it's not easy challenging both the executive department as represented by the President of the Republic and Congress. We worked hard and with the grace of God, we prevailed.
Jose Vicente Salazar became the IBP president at the time, when the IBP needed to resolve major issues regarding the succession rule on the IBP presidency.
Those were challenging times, as we witnessed a clash of ideas and ideals among many of our prominent leaders and members. The strength of our community spirit was put to test, as well as our commitment to the search for what is just and right. Our shared efforts led to the eventual resolution of those issues. So that period helped the IBP achieve clarity and greater harmony. I did mention our national presidency happened at a time of polarization among members of the IBP. There was an apparent discord in our ranks triggered by the debate on how the succession rule was to be applied on the matter of the national presidency of the IBP. Several prominent IBP members took hardline positions on this debate. That experience proved that there is no challenge that is so big that a community of top-caliber professionals such as ours would not be able to overcome. We made sure that perspectives and positions of the various groups were freely shared and aired. We trusted in the superior ability of our members to take strong stand on matters they believe in, as well as in our ability to respect and listen to even the most intense opposition to what we believe in. Today, that matter has been resolved and we remain a strong community.
The IBP became more active in social issues at the time of presidency of President Feliciano M. Bautista.
It's not only that the lawyer is in his office receiving complaints. We are on a pedestal. We do not know what's going on, what issues affect us and affect the country, affect the nation. I made the IBP participate in street rallies, and I spoke there every time there was an issue to be concerned, especially so with regards to problems to the country like corruption. I was there always in the battle. We cannot just stay in the office and become advisors to people who come for the problems. We have to go to the field to know the pulse of the people.
When President Roan Libarrios headed the IBP, the organization took a stand on the impeachment of then Chief Justice Renato Corona.
We conducted a 2-day marathon deliberation to determine the stand of the IBP national governors and the national officers on the impeachment of the Chief Justice. During the 2-day deliberations, we invited law deans, legal luminaries, and national legal organizations to help the IBP define its position vis-a-vis the impeachment of the then Chief Justice. And after the deliberations, we were able to come up with a unified position adopted unanimously by the Board of Governors, assailing the impeachment of the Chief Justice as violative of due process, the rules of impeachment of the House of Representatives, and also the Constitution. And after the impeachment, we also organized the search for the new Chief Justice. And during that time, we were able to make the process of selecting the Chief Justice more significant and more transparent and more relevant to the legal profession and to the public as a whole.
During the time of President Vicente Hoyas, the IBP joined in the relief efforts for the victims of Super Typhoon Yolanda.
The participation of the IBP in alleviating the plight of brothers and sisters in the profession when Tacloban was down by Typhoon Yolanda. We made a fundraising, gave financial assistance to the brothers and sisters in the profession who were seriously affected by Typhoon Yolanda. There was an earthquake which visited part of Cebu and other places in Eastern Visayas, and the IBP took participation in raising funds for the financial assistance of the lawyers in the areas who were affected by the earthquake. We also conducted jail visitation. We entered into MOA with DOLE regarding overseas worker, and also during our time we entered into Memorandum of Understanding with the DOJ regarding the killings of lawyers, prosecutors, and judges.
During the presidency of President Abdil Dan Elijah Fajardo, the IBP actively advocated and defended the rule of law against efforts to circumvent the same or use it as a tool of oppression. It likewise tried to enforce the arbitral ruling against China with regards to the West Philippine Sea.
It was during the term of my presidency and the board that was with me that there were several challenges to the rule of law. Of course, the independence of judges and lawyers was being challenged. And the number one challenge, of course, is the Philippines was very low in the rule of law index as compared with the other countries in the world. So we decided that the IBP should fight for the rule of law. We fought for judicial independence. We fought for the safety and the lives of our judges, justices, and lawyers, and prosecutors who were constantly under threat because of their positions on certain matters that affected national policy. Well, happily, we had several petitions filed with the Supreme Court that brought awareness to the public. For instance, we participated in the very celebrated case of then the former Chief Justice, Chief Justice Sereno. We also made our voices heard in the West Philippine Sea dispute. We also made a position, a definite position, with respect to the withdrawal of the Philippines from the International Criminal Court.
President Domingo Igan Q. Cayosa served at an unprecedented time when the coronavirus pandemic forced a near-total shutdown of the organization halfway through his term. The health crisis, though, did not deter him, and the 24th Board of Governors from continuing their mandate to serve the members of the IBP. And the public took it as a challenge amid restrictions.
Despite the restrictions, IBP led in mobilizing its chapters, members, and other professional organizations and groups, civic organizations, to assist the health workers and the burdened sectors of society. IBP was very active in putting clarity, science, and logic in rules and policies addressing the pandemic. We have effectively advocated for online legal processes to ensure that justice is not stopped or further delayed during the pandemic. One other challenge during our term was the aggressive government drug war. And in response, IBP called out the shortcuts and abuses and effectively defended those who were wrongfully prejudiced. And we even saved lives and proposed and worked on better ways of addressing the drug problem. I'm most proud of the Justice Bilis program. Yung bang Justice Bilis, hindi Justice Tiis or Justice Bili. We also embarked on the Global Filipino Lawyer Program, where we expanded the presence of IBP internationally. We are also very proud to be the leader of IBP that had the most number of collaborations and cooperation with different organizations locally and internationally. And we have a continuing story of the good Filipino lawyer, because we have to improve the image of the legal profession in our community and in the international arena.
50 years of outstanding achievement, transforming our nation through truthful and heartfelt service. Serve the country. Hail the IBP.